unfortunately, a lot of people don't even want to agree that they're addicted in the first place. They are still in self-denial and they don't realize that it's affecting them. That your life doesn't belong to you. You are only having it, but it belongs to God. So if you're going to live your life anyhow because you think it belongs to you, at the end of the day, God is going to ask you to account for that life. So we have to try and, as much as possible, to be accountable. But the fact that people are doing something wrong doesn't mean you also have to do it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hello Students. My name is Mohammed Napare, and on this episode of Hello Students, we will be discussing drug abuse. Normally, as students, it's becoming a gradual norm for us because most of us get engaged in drugs. And what sometimes becomes a problem is peer pressure, right? Because you see a group of people doing it, and so you want to try out, and that is perfectly fine. You try out, and at the end of the day, you get addicted to it. And so, on this episode of Hello Students, I'm joined here by John Asonngode. John is actually an entrepreneur. He works in media space and all of that. But then he also has a book, Breaking Up with Mary Jane, where he shares his journey of struggling with drug abuse and how he got sober. So, John, you're welcome to Hello Students.
Thank you so much, Napare, for having me.
Okay, so let's just start off the conversation with how did you break up with Mary Jane?
Oh, you want to go there first? I thought you would rather go into how I even started smoking, but how I broke up with Mary Jane, it's a choice I had to make because I felt that was the best thing I could do to be able to achieve my dreams and my goals in life. So I wanted to be able to move forward from where my life was, and one of the things I had to do was to quit smoking. So yeah, that's why I quit smoking.
So sure. The reason I wanted us to start from how you met Mary Jane is because of the book.
Okay.
But then now, so let's get into the details. How did you get into smoking?
Okay, so I actually got into smoking earlier on in secondary school. I was first introduced to cigarettes. So I went for a party with my seniors, and then they gave me a cigarette stick to smoke, and I wanted to do it because I was curious and I wanted to feel like I belonged to that group. So I remember the first time I smoked cigarettes was back in secondary school, and so it sort of laid the foundation for me to now be introduced to marijuana. And so when I got to university, that's when I started smoking marijuana as well, because in my hostel that I was, most of the guys there were already smoking marijuana. So that's where I got introduced to marijuana, and then I got hooked on this as well.
But then what made you stick with marijuana? Why didn't you just stick with cigarettes and then you went to marijuana?
So the truth be told, the first time I smoked marijuana, I fell in love with it. Like, the feeling was really nice to me back then. So I remember I was just trying it out. I didn't smoke with the intention to become a regular smoker. But like I said, most of the guys in my hostel were already smoking. And they'll tell you that marijuana is better than cigarettes because marijuana is a natural plant, it's a herb, and it's medicinal and all that. So I wanted to try it. And like I said, as I tried it, I fell in love with it. So the next morning, I found myself, smoking again. And before I knew it, it had become a habit. I didn't even realize how it happened, but before I knew it, I was already addicted.
But then you see, the thing with addiction is, I wanted to ask you that, how did you know you were addicted? Was it that you woke up and one day, if you don't take a puff, like if you don't smoke, you're not comfortable?
No, so most smokers wouldn't even admit to you that they're addicted, but addiction is something that you depend on for, let's say, basically survival. So if every day you wake up and you have to smoke to be able to move about your activities, then you're addicted. But you find out a lot of smokers who tell you they're not addicted. You tell them they're addicted, they say no, they're not addicted. So it's not like I realized that I was addicted, but now looking back, I know I was addicted because I was smoking every day. And that's basically the definition of addiction. You understand? Addiction is being hooked on the substance that you need almost every day to be able to function. You get it?
So when you were smoking, do you remember some of the profound moments at that stage in time? Like a moment where you smoked and then you completely lost it or something of that sort? Or were you like a low range smoker?
I was a low key guy mostly, but I remember this funny story. So I smoked one afternoon like that, and then I was going to my school. My school is in Dodowa. I went to Valley View University. So I was going to Medina to get a few stuff, and so I hopped into a trotro from OEB heading towards Medina. And then all of a sudden, this guy comes up and he's trying to preach, and like he was saying certain things. I mean, I was high, like I was already high from my hostel before coming. So he was sharing the word of God, preaching, and then I got angry and told him to actually fuck up. Come on for there. What did you talk? Come on for there. Oh, like it became a very serious argument. And he had to take the passengers in the car to calm me down. This guy didn't do anything to me. He was just preaching his word of God. He didn't say anything against me. He didn't do anything. But I believe it was just because I was high that I was able to interact with him in that manner. Because I believe I was going to either I was probably going to buy some more weed, or I was probably going to do something stupid. So I didn't. My spirit wasn't in tune with what he was trying to do, and so it led to that
So I get
unfortunate
it. So
situation.
what would you say are the reasons why? Because you were as a student when you started smoking, right? So in this channel, we are focused on helping students, right? And most students are dealing with addictions, right? So what would you say is the starting point of drug use? Not getting addicted, but then what would encourage someone to even start smoking?
Peer pressure is the number one thing, because every smoker was first introduced to it by someone. It's very rare to find someone who just wakes up one morning and decides to go and look for weed and smoke for the very first time without any influence or any introduction from someone else. So I think peer pressure is number one. And sometimes the peer pressure even doesn't have to do with your peers. It could be influence from someone you respect or someone you admire. So there are a lot of celebrities that smoke and they post it on their social media. They portray it in their music videos, in the movies. So if, for instance, if you like this actor or you like this musician and you realize that they're smoking, then you want to also do it to feel like, you can connect with them. So I think those are some of the two things that lead people into smoking.
Sure. So then now, so was it after uni that you finally decided, or at what point did you decide that okay, now is the day?
Well, so the very first time I realized I had to quit, I was still in uni. I was in level 200. Like I said, I started in level 100. Like the
Like in
first,
or
no, I'm in level 100 in university. Marijuana, I'm talking about marijuana. We are focused on marijuana now. Cigarettes was back in secondary school, but marijuana was in university. So it was my very first semester when I started smoking marijuana. And when I was level 200, that's when I realized, I had to do something about this, because there was a semester in my level 200 where I failed 4 courses. I had F. Four courses. And we were doing like 6 courses. So failing 4 courses instantly in just one semester was a big alarm to me. I realized this was, this was getting out of hand. And I could tell that it was basically because of my marijuana use, because we smoke, we don't go for lectures, we don't do our assignments, we don't. And my school is such a way that even if you miss class for a number of times, they can fail you. So at that point when I saw my results slip and there was F, I said I had to stop this. But I gave it a try and I really couldn't stop. So I found myself back into it.
Okay, so how was the first step like? Was it just a personal conviction that okay, now I realize that, or was it a personal conviction in the sense that I realized I'm smoking and then now it's messing up my grades, it's messing up my lifestyle, so I want to change? Or it was just I wake up on morning and I feel like I haven't smoked again and I'm okay, so I can finally go?
No, so it wasn't that way. It was the personal conviction. Like I mentioned, my grades were derailing, and I think that was around the time my parents also got to find out that I was smoking. So, they were not happy about it and they advised me to stop. So, considering those two things, I really wanted to stop, because I thought maybe, once I stopped, I could put my life back into shape or get my life back on track. But it was an addiction. So, the very first week I tried stopping, I mean, it was terrible. Like, I was having serious side effects. I was having nausea. I was having headaches. I couldn't sleep, so many side effects. And so before I realized, after 1 or 2 weeks, I started smoking again.
Okay, sure. So now the next question I wanted to ask was that you see you had tried it twice. The first time, and then was it the second time that you finally got over it, or was it third time?
Well,
After
so
the
I forgot.
first time.
So I was still in school. Like I said, I was still in school, level 200, when I tried to stop and I couldn't. I just stopped for about 1 week or two and I went back into it. So after I went back to it, I was smoking full time until 2018 when I finally stopped.
So now what I wanted to ask was that you see in 2018 when you finally stopped,
Yeah.
what would you advise someone who was like in the first time, in level 200. Let's say I'm in level 200 now, and I'm smoking, and then I want to stop, and I'm feeling nausea, feeling headaches, and all of that. I'm not getting my daily life in structure again. Comparing that phase to the 2018, what's that one advice you give to someone who finds himself in such a situation?
So you have to seek help because I was trying to do it by myself. I didn't seek any help or any counsel or anything. And drug abuse is something that goes into your system. It can affect your system in various ways. So there's no possible way I could have gotten over that period without any external help or any support from somewhere. So if you're in that situation currently, the best thing for you to do would be seek help. Either go to a hospital or a rehab center and you know seek help from the professionals over there. That's the best advice I'll give to someone like that.
So in 2018, how did it all start out for you?
Okay, so in 2018, what happened is one evening I was in my room. I was just browsing YouTube, watching music videos, and then I came across a sermon by Dr. Mensa Otabil. The title was "Stepping Out from Your Prison." So when I saw that title, it's immediately, related to me because at that point in time, my life was basically like I was in prison. I was doing all the coolest things. I was smoking every day, going to nightclubs across the country and all that. But I felt some kind of emptiness within me, you understand? So when I saw that message, I really wanted to listen to it. So I clicked it, I listened to it, and then it gave me a whole new perception about my life and my choices and all that. So I kept on listening to Dr. Mensa Otabil from then till about September. So in September 2018 is when I decided that look, enough is enough. If I wanted to move forward in life or if I wanted to do something in my life, I needed to put a stop to things that I know aren't helpful to me. So that's when I decided to quit. I quit smoking, quit drinking, quit doing so many reckless things I was doing before. And then I gave my life to Christ. And then since then till now, it's been a different story.
Okay, so now what I wanted us to really talk about is, you see, that new phase when you finally decided to quit. How was the experience like? Because you see, sometimes when you have an addiction and then you break free, and then you are finally or you are breaking free, the urge comes up very faster, considering the fact that you had already tried once and it didn't work. So the second time, how was it? Was it solely like a mental action, or what were the habits you kept in place?
No, so the second time it was purely grace. It was purely by the grace of God. So, like I mentioned, the first time I tried to quit, I was having side effects, crazy side effects, very serious health conditions. But the second time, it just happened instantly. I flashed the last piece in the toilet and it was over, like just instantly like that. And so I always attribute it to the grace of God because only the power of God that can do something like that. I'd been smoking for almost 6 years. And so with that, it means I had to, maybe I should have checked into a rehab or, go on medication. But I didn't have to do any of that. It was just purely by the grace of God. But also, besides the grace of God, you, the individual, you need to do certain things because God will not do by miracle what you have to do by discipline or by simple obedience. So you need to create a new lifestyle. So, you have to replace your old habits with new ones. So I started reading more. I started, writing more. I started doing more innovative things to replace the time that I used to spend smoking. So creating a new life helps with this. And in creating a new life, sometimes you need to make sacrifices. So you're going to sacrifice some of your friends. You're going to sacrifice the places you go to. You're going to sacrifice some, some parties you're invited to. There's a whole lot of sacrifice that has to come with that decision to quit smoking. And I was ready to make those sacrifices because I was inspired by God. And he gave me the adequate strength and grace to walk through it boldly.
Okay, so talking about the rights and replacing the new habits. So John has a book and it's breaking up with Mary Jane. And actually there is a challenge here, or let me say, there's a 30-day challenge here where you would have to follow through to finally get over. For here it is breaking up with Mary Jane. But then personally for me, I think if you follow the steps here, you can actually get over any addiction you find yourself in. So John, let's talk about breaking up with Mary Jane. What is the book basically about? Understand it's about breaking away from marijuana or addiction to drugs, but then what is really in it? Just like a brief
Yes.
recap of
So,
it.
after I gave my life to Christ and turned my life around, I felt inspired to help other people in my past situation to also break free from their troubles and their addictions. So, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was marijuana, because that was like an intimate affair with me. I was smoking constantly. I was smoking almost 10, joints a day. So it was a very dear habit for me, should I say? So after I came out from it, I wanted to be able to help other people. And one of the best ways I found that I could do that was through writing, because I've always had a passion for writing. So that's why I wrote Breaking Up with Mary Jane. And Mary Jane basically is the street name for marijuana. So this book is telling you breaking up with marijuana. And like you rightly mentioned, the 30-day challenge or guide in there, it helps with any other addiction, not just with marijuana. I've had people come to me and tell me, the book has helped them break addictions from pornography, from alcohol, and all sorts of vices. So that's the reason why I wrote the book. And then I've been going around places, talking to people, trying to help them, get out of their addiction.
Okay, but then what's in the book?
What's
Like,
in the book?
yes,
Yeah,
like
the
a
book.
recap of it.
The book, it basically summarizes everything I've been through with marijuana. So calling it Mary Jane, I decided to write it like it was a girl. So the way we met, so you see the chapters I have here. I have chapter 1, the meeting, which talks about how I met marijuana. Chapter 2, you captured my heart, means I got addicted because she captured my heart. Then chapter 3, I can't take it no more. I realized, this is not helpful. I can't take it anymore. Then chapter 4, it's over. Chapter 5, I'm never coming back. So those are, I think, very important steps everybody needs to go through. After you say it's over, it's not just over, but you need to ensure that you're never going back, because you can say you're quitting for even a month, 2 months, 6 months, even a year, and then you find yourself back into it. So it's very important to set in the back of your mind that you're never going back, such that you don't fall into the temptation again. And then after that, I have the 30-day guide that can help people who are still struggling with addiction.
So that's very good. And one interesting thing about the book is that the book is free, right? So it's not for sale. If you want it, it's on Amazon, and you could get it on Amazon, Breaking Up with Mary Jane. However, if you also wanted to, I'll put links in the description where you could contact John personally, or you could contact me, and then I'll get in touch with it to get you a copy. It's highly recommended, because you see, sometimes as students, addiction is one part of a whole story for us, and breaking away from it is very, very difficult. And when we talk about addiction, it doesn't just do with drugs, it doesn't just do with masturbation or porn. You could be addicted to a lifestyle, you could be addicted to eating and all of that. And so for me, this book would be a game changer for anyone who reads it and wants to really take a chance with it. So John, what would be your final words if, let's say, there's a student out there who is struggling with addiction right now and he wants to break up? What would be one thing that you tell him to first of all consider?
First of all, acceptance. So if they have accepted that they're addicted and they want to quit, then that's a great thing, But unfortunately, a lot of people don't even want to agree that they're addicted in the first place. They're still in self-denial, and they don't realize that it's affecting them. And sometimes they'll make comments such as, "Oh, other people are drinking, other people are eating red meat." Like you mentioned, eating can also be an addiction. They'll tell you people are eating, all sorts of things that are also unhealthy. So leave me alone, it's my life. But there's this quote that I always refer to. I first saw it on Stephen Napare's page. He said, "You see a man in traffic selling handkerchiefs, and he's sweating profusely. It tells you that possession is not the same as ownership. He's possessing that handkerchief, but he doesn't own it to use it to clean the sweat on his face whilst he's selling in traffic. So it tells you that your life doesn't belong to you. You are only having it, but it belongs to God. So if you're going to live your life anyhow because you think it belongs to you, at the end of the day, God is going to ask you to account for that life. So we have to try and, as much as possible, to be accountable. But the fact that people are doing something wrong doesn't mean you also have to do it. If people are jumping off a cliff, it doesn't mean you also have to go and jump off that cliff. You understand? So you have to do what's right for you, and you have to try and find your purpose in life and ensure that you are living right according to your own conscience and probably according to God's standards.
Okay, sure. So thank you very much for coming here, and I'm very grateful you had time to come.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, sure. So this would be the end of Hello Students, and until next time, be sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. Be legendary.